What if the main threat to the US economy is not war or inflation, but Beijing, ready to pull the plug on the American dream of artificial intelligence? The United States and China are rapidly drifting apart, and behind the loud talk of diplomacy and trade peace lies a much deeper fracture. The real battle is unfolding in silence, between chip factories, data centers, and energy grids. It is there that the future is being decided. Whoever controls semiconductors and artificial intelligence will determine the balance of global power for the next 50 years. America has bet everything on this race. More than $25 billion of new debt is directly tied to AI data centers, and nearly $50 billion more in Wall Street bonds are backed only by buildings filled with servers and graphics processors. An entire financial system has been built on machines that never sleep. But if this fragile structure cracks, the world could face a liquidity freeze reminiscent of the 2008 crisis, only faster and far more devastating. Beijing sees this vulnerability. China has studied every move of its rival and is now ready not just to compete but to strike precisely. It does not need to attack Wall Street. Cutting off the flow of chips that power the American AI engine would be enough. This is where the new phase of confrontation begins. The new economic bet of the United States rests on data centers, endless rows of metal racks filled with NVIDIA chips and blinking lights. Behind this glow lies a mountain of debt. More than $25 billion in borrowed funds are directly tied to these facilities, and another $50 billion in securities are backed by the same buildings. It is the modern version of the mortgage bubble, only now the assets are not homes but servers. Investors believe that artificial intelligence will grow forever and that every chip will yield profit. But such faith is dangerous. Should the AI hype weaken or chip sales fall, the value of these securities will collapse. This could trigger a chain reaction, defaults among data center operators, panic sell-offs, and a drying up of market liquidity. It would take only the slightest push to shatter confidence. Trump understands what is at stake. His administration has tied its political success to sustaining this bubble, introducing tariffs, subsidies, and deals to keep money flowing into the chip industry. But even within the sector, concern is growing. NVIDIA's CEO Jensen Huang, once admiring the strength of Chinese AI, is now carefully stepping back from his earlier statements, realizing how dependent his empire is on Beijing. And while America keeps piling up debt to maintain its leadership, China is preparing a countermove capable of cutting off chip supplies and striking at the very heart of this fragile system. For years, NVIDIA dominated China's AI market, holding an enormous 95% share. Now that dominance has vanished entirely. US sanctions and export restrictions have become a double-edged sword, and China has quietly adapted. NVIDIA's revenues in China have collapsed to zero. This is not a decline, it is a total shutdown. But it is not that simple. American chips still leak into Chinese systems through backchannels. Many data centers continue to use Intel and AMD processors, leaving a loophole for American companies to profit. Beijing has noticed and decided to seal that breach once and for all. A new directive from Chinese authorities requires all state-funded data centers, the backbone of the nation's digital infrastructure, to abandon foreign chips. The order is simple. Replace NVIDIA and AMD with Huawei and Cambricon immediately. These centers handle enormous volumes of data for both government and private projects, and most are financed directly by the state. After the transition, billions of dollars in American revenue will vanish overnight. This move is not symbolic, it is strategic. By redirecting demand toward domestic companies, China secures stable contracts, data streams for research, and consistent revenue for its own manufacturers. Every GPU replaced with a Huawei chip keeps the money within China's technological ecosystem instead of flowing to Wall Street. Moreover, Beijing gains a new lever of influence. American companies can no longer pressure Chinese clients. The market is turning inward, and the process is accelerating. Provincial governments are already setting up task forces to speed up chip replacement across hundreds of server farms. With each passing month, China's dependence on the US weakens, and soon it will become clear how far Beijing is willing to go to make this independence irreversible. Chinese engineers know they are still one generation behind NVIDIA's latest chips, such as the Blackwell B200, but they did not wait. The country has developed a clever and unique workaround: data centers now combine dozens or even hundreds of domestic GPUs into powerful clusters that together deliver the same computing power as a single top-tier American chip. The solution is not perfect, but it works, and it costs far less. Thanks to this architecture, China can scale AI training without relying on American suppliers or needing export licenses. This approach shifts the balance of power. Every cluster of chips sold within China directs money not overseas, but to domestic firms. Huawei, Cambricon, and a growing network of semiconductor startups. Every dollar that once went to NVIDIA or AMD now fuels local research, manufacturing, and workforce development. It is a closed loop that Beijing built deliberately. The more restrictions Washington imposes, the more aggressively China invests in itself. The results are already visible. In October 2025, the world's 3 leading open-source AI models were created in China, surpassing the efforts of Google and Meta. Developers across Asia and Africa increasingly use Chinese models. They are free, powerful, and easily adaptable to local languages and industries. In this way, Chinese software standards are spreading globally, much like American Android once did. Inside the country, this software breakthrough is giving a strong boost to the chip industry. By receiving real data from millions of users, local companies accelerate the optimization of their processors, improve training efficiency, and create more capable AI tools. Beijing's plan works on 2 fronts. It reduces dependence on the US, while simultaneously building an ecosystem capable of securing China's leadership in artificial intelligence. And behind this rise stands a crucial advantage: energy. Energy is becoming the new weapon in the chip war. Every AI model, every training cycle, every data center consumes massive amounts of electricity. This is where China has created its quiet edge. The cost of electricity in the US is 30 to 40% higher than in China, and Beijing is doing everything possible to widen that gap. The state directly subsidizes energy for the largest tech companies, from Huawei to Baidu, ensuring their computing costs remain low. While American corporations face growing expenses, China now dominates renewable energy production. It has built more than 340 gigawatts of wind and solar capacity. That is almost 66% of the world's total capacity. Fields of solar panels stretch across the deserts of Inner Mongolia and Xining, while offshore wind farms continue to expand along the eastern coast. According to the International Energy Agency, by the year 2030, China's solar energy alone will surpass the entire electricity consumption of the US economy. This changes everything. Cheap, abundant, and largely clean energy allows China to power its AI systems around the clock, without fear of fuel shortages or geopolitical disruptions. In the United States, the situation is far more complicated. Every new data center increases the strain on an aging power grid. States compete for limited resources, and energy companies struggle to keep up with rising demand. The future of American AI still depends on fossil fuels and costly infrastructure upgrades, while China's AI industry runs on state-backed renewable energy. This difference turns the chip war into a contest of endurance. China can afford to train ever larger models and launch more servers without added costs or emissions. The United States, burdened by expensive energy and mounting debt, is running a sprint, while China moves at a marathon pace. As a result, the world has entered a new era in which the struggle for energy and technology has become the defining force of global politics. Step by step, China is transforming dependence into independence, building its own ecosystem of AI and energy. The United States, meanwhile, is forced to balance on a fragile foundation of debt and tariffs. And if current trends continue, it will be Beijing, not Washington, that sets the rules of the future digital economy.